What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So in the last few days, I've been talking a lot about PlayStation's position in the console market. I've also talked about that in relation to Xbox. And that is because we had these leaks that have proven a lot of what I've been saying as correct. However, there is a side of the whole gaming scene that we haven't touched on in this channel. And that's because, for the most part, Nintendo has been doing their own thing. And because they have somewhat of a semi-closed ecosystem, there are many things that kind of work against them and work for them, but it seems like what works for them just so well that their games are outselling on their own platform way more than PlayStation games and way more than Xbox games for the most part. Let me show you what I think is the source of Nintendo's really interesting and surprising success, more than just say it's about nostalgia. Because yes, there is the nostalgia side of it. Yes, there's a part that they actually do make games that people love, but there are some other things that you must take into account, even with them having a very, very, weak console in terms of any hardware. Your iPhone 15, is much more powerful than your Nintendo Switch. Not even your iPhone 15. You don't have to go even that high for you to be able to get a device that does better. However, in their software sales, they are knocking out, from the numbers we just saw recently, 40, 50 million copies, 30 million copies of their games. And these games are not even the most good looking games compared to what you see on the console ecosystem. So what I mean here is, if you go to, say, for instance, PlayStation Store, it could be Xbox's store. It doesn't really matter, guys. I'm just using this as an example. The higher number of games that are hosted on PlayStation's platform are third-party games, and this is fine. They make a 30% or more cut from these games. This has been their business model. When anything is sold on here, they make money from it. However, this speaks to the fact that these games and their publishers are no longer just partners with PlayStation, but also competitors. So now PlayStation has every Tom, Dick, and Harry that is capable of making a game like theirs, or in some cases, making games that are much more, appreciated in most cases, actually, than their own games, and actually putting it on and hosting it on their platform. Do you see how this can actually be some kind of a conflict when it comes to the position of PlayStation software games? Do you see how this can also be an issue with Xbox as well? Because when you put Elden Ring on your platform and you try to make yourself an action RPG or an action game that is an open world game, what's going to happen, or what we saw happen, was Elden Ring is going to smoke your game for, in a smoker and eat it. And you basically have barbecue sauce with it and have sides and all that stuff. And it was Horizon, Forbidden West. This is not something that we're saying is a hypothetical situation. Horizon Forbidden West was a game that came out a week before Elden Ring. And Elden Ring basically ate its lunch just out of nowhere, just destroyed in terms of sales and in terms of, relevance for the most part. I mean, look at Horizon Forbidden West right now. The game is on sale for $20. Elden Ring has maintained a very competitive price, and this is the lowest I've seen it, at $35. Last year it was at 40 something. It's finally come down, but again, this is something with From Software. Their games don't really come down too much. I think the lowest you'll see Sekiro right now is at $29. Maybe next year it's going to hit the $15 mark. But these games are heavily, appreciated games, and they've proven, or one of their games anyways, has proven to be able to compete, extensively with a game that is here from Sony. Another game that is also very, very interesting in the way that it actually does things is Call of Duty. Now, Activision used to own this, and they used to partner with PlayStation, but I remember hearing, and I don't remember exactly where I found this article or where we heard, this interview or something regarding lines of God of War. But Cory Barlog, when he was trying to release Call of Duty 2018, he chose the date that he chose because he did not want to come out in the same window as Black Ops. That's crazy that your own first-party studio is basically running away from a third-party game. And it's not their fault. It's just that these games are heavily played by people, and they have an economic and competitive stress on your own titles. When you look at the Nintendo ecosystem in contrast, when you try to figure out what in the world is going on and say, oh, so Nintendo, this is what you guys are doing, this is how you guys roll, and you come to the list of Nintendo games, say go into their game library, and look at, you'll see games out now. You can say Nintendo games. It will filter them, and it will filter all games. I mean, I don't know if this is the exhaustive list of Nintendo games. However, from a list of 125 games, in this particular list that they have here, 85 of them are Nintendo games. So meaning by default, and by the fact that they have a weak console and some sort of a closed ecosystem, most of their games are just Nintendo games being sold on their platform. And they don't have or need or feel that competitive stress that Xbox feels on its own platform and PlayStation does. I think this is the most critical aspect of Nintendo's success in software sales and profitability. You don't have to worry about anything. You just make a game that works on only your platform. You're not multi-plat. You're not trying to worry about developing the PC version. You're not trying to worry about developing the PlayStation version. You're not trying to worry about, developing the Xbox version. All you got to do is just focus on your platform. And people that are already in your ecosystem are just going to buy your games. This is a very strong business model. Yes, it is fueled by things like nostalgia. It is fueled by things like, people's childhood memories from a company that has existed for a very long time. And I think this is a company that knows its place and understands itself and understands its, weight in the market. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I gave you guys just one example, but many of you don't necessarily, I don't know if you know, or maybe you forgot that when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, it was actually, edged out by Zelda Breath of the Wild. In that same year that it came out, Breath of the Wild literally was the game that slapped Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn has hit 24 million copies in sales, but this is after, you had the game go on PC and the game has been heavily discounted over the years. Those are good sales numbers. Even at, even selling, say, half of that for $10 a piece, which I've never seen at $10 a piece, except on physical. That's still a good amount of money. But I think this is exactly where Nintendo thrives. And anybody who may be wondering about the Nintendo ecosystem, I think you kind of have to, position your argument with this in mind. Because when we see, and I know people will be shocked and say, but PlayStation players, are not playing the PlayStation games. Yes, I mean, look at the top 10 games in the region. Spider-Man makes it to number 7 in this particular list. I mean, I don't know if it's ranked by order, but I mean, I can't presume that, Spider-Man 2 is being played more than Fortnite or Call of Duty or 2K or Madden or FIFA. These games are the top played games anywhere they are, whether they be Xbox or whether they be PlayStation. It's only on PC that you're going to see things like CSGO, and you're going to see other games like Destiny kind of take the cake on that regard. So when you're actually weighing these things, I think when people say things like, oh, whenever I provide suggestions and say, I think PlayStation's model is to basically throw its software wherever it can sell them, because its hardware sales don't seem to make a dent in its games being influential. I mean, obviously, yes, you'll still sell your games on your platform. You have a lot of people that have already bought your consoles that will still buy your consoles. But when it comes to your software, it doesn't seem like a lot of these folk are actually buying these software pieces. They rather are engaging in other software that's being provided by other companies in droves, by the way. I mean, just look at the pre-orders for 2024 list. That's crazy. And there's not necessarily anything other than Helldivers for PlayStation and anything else that's a third party, which is like Rise of the Ronin. But everything else, is going to be on other platforms. And so this is not necessarily going to be something that helps PlayStation. If anything, Helldivers is basically going to disappear in the mix, even as a PlayStation, sponsored game itself. So this is exactly what we're saying. This is a small PlayStation game compared to everything else, but it's definitely going to be disappearing because all these other games, they're just going to provide that competitive stress. Whereas when Nintendo comes out with the next Super Mario Party or Super Mario, Dice game or whatever it is, just some random Super Mario game that they can just dream up, it's going to sell 10 million copies in the first month. And then the next month, it's going to do like another 5. And then over the course of the year, before you know what's going on, after 2-3 years, the game with a high price point, by the way, these games don't go on sale very easily. The game will do like, 25 million copies at the $59.99 price point, or sometimes even $70. They sold Tears of the Kingdom for $70. See, Sony thinks, and all these people that are raising the prices of games, well, I'm glad that everyone is getting their senses back. Some people are putting their games at $59.99 back where it needs to be. But these guys thought they were going to go ahead and run amok and make money. you're just making Nintendo richer because they're just going to be like, oh, we'll just put $20 on top of it. And then they just laugh pretty to the bank. But I wanted to go ahead and point this out because I'm certain a lot of people are probably wondering, why would Nintendo not need to make the pivot that PlayStation would make? Well, because they are fine at this moment in time. Nothing has come to touch their strategy just yet. And it doesn't seem like anything will touch it for a while. It'll take a lot to change the game, from what Nintendo's already doing. So for those who may be thinking that the Steam Deck is a competitor, it's not. I know I've seen people say that. It's not. There's much more that goes into it than that. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for tuning into the video, and Happy New Year's. Peace out.